in-house and on-site. Look now at japamachinery.com.
The Jason Gregor Show with Jason Strudwick on Edmonton Sports Leader, TSN 1260.
We're going to get racing in a second, but I just want to let you know, for golfers, might not be liking the news coming down for golfing. I'm hearing you might only be able to golf with people in your household for the next short while. So, ouch. There you go. A lot, but hey, I'm no expert on it, so most people golf to get out of their household. Or some are like, yeah, you go golfing, get out of the house. It works both ways. So there you have it. Let's get to the racing report brought to you by Can Torque. They're excited to announce the newest addition to their tool series, mechanical and hydraulic flange spreaders. Powerful, durable, and user-friendly. Contact them to arrange a demo today at cantorque.com. Colin Livingston joins us once again, and man, there is lots going on in the racing world. But let's start first of all with Canadian Red Deer native Parker Thompson won the Porsche Carrera Cup Challenge at the Challenge of America's racetrack in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, how awesome is that? I mean, Parker got to start in the area racing go-karts between Edmonton and Calgary. When I met him the first time, Parker was racing alongside Matthew Taskinen in the Canadian Touring Car Championship. So yeah, great to see some success being had by drivers that have been fostered through our local karting system.
Well, what is the reputation of our local karting system, or even our local drivers? Just as far outside of Alberta, even outside of U.S., is there are we known for a certain style?
No, I wouldn't say it's a style, but we've definitely produced some great drivers. I mean, as we've covered a lot over the past couple of years, I mean, we consistently send drivers over to the World Karting Championships. Some of the guys are able to work their way up through the system and get into more elaborate forms of racing. But the limiting factor and the strange side of racing is that if you don't have money behind you, you just don't get anywhere. And which ties into another Canadian that made the news this week is our Robert Wickens, who was, as most will remember, was seriously injured in an IndyCar crash. But even he made the comment that as ready as he is to get back into a car with hand controls or whatever it was, until he finds money, it's going to be tough for him to get back to competitive racing again.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for sure. But it was a pretty cool video to see that. He's starting to regain the use of his legs, but it was mostly utilizing hand controls whenever he's driving. But it's still nice to see for sure where that's going to go from him. Now, NASCAR, Rafael Lessard isn't going to finish. You talked about it because of lack of funding. So he was currently in 13th place. How much of a concern do you think this is, Colin? Is this opening Pandora's box? Is there going to be other guys to follow?
No, I don't think so, because every driver's, sponsorship is individual. They're not all tied together. Lessard is, he's done really well. I mean, last year was with Kyle Busch, won a race, won in his first Pinty start at Chaudière a couple of years ago. I mean, the guy is a legit talent. So hopefully it's not too long before somebody, lines up. The sad thing is so many people think that it's just a matter of being a good driver, or it's a matter of being a good person. And everyone that we're talking about is a spectacular person. I read a comment by one of the motorsports commentators, come on, corporate Canada, step up and support these guys. And it's a really tough thing to ask, because obviously right now, a lot of companies are really depressed. A lot of companies are having, budgetary issues. The tough thing for Canadian companies is when these guys, really get their their chance to be successful, it's down in the States, and it's hard to try and tie in what we're doing in Canada with what the racing is in the States, especially when it's so hard to travel back and forth, and it's so hard to try and, do what's called activating. So it's not just a simple, one-to-one, put your sticker on a car and support the guy. If you can't actually turn it into something tangible, then, this is really what the challenge is. So hopefully for Raphael, by later on in the year, they can really start structuring their deals again. I know some of his marketing people and promotions people, and they're going to be doing an awesome job lining stuff up. And I expect to see him back racing, even later this year, if not next year.
Talking all things racing with the Colin Houston for the Cantork Racing Report. Looking at IndyCar, bit of a rare off weekend here for the teams. What do these guys do with these off times? Do they go home and see their families, or are they, got their lug nut wrench working on their flanges?
Yeah, they go and build fire tables in their backyard, Struddy.
They're not that technically sound. Come on.
With their wheel wrenches. No, I mean, usually I'm pretty critical of Indy with how their schedule gets lined up, but man, they've done 4 races in 3 weekends, which, it's a major undertaking to get these things lined up. I mean, they were in St. Pete, they've been in Barber, Alabama, and then in Texas. So, the switch from a road course car to an oval car is a big change. They get 1 weekend off, and then they go, full speed ahead for the Indy weekend. What these guys are going to do, obviously they're going to rest, but they're going to be training. They still have media obligations, sponsor obligations. I mean, they're off from being at the track, but they're definitely not, sitting around on the couch and, doing like I did most of the winter and fattening myself up.
Colin Livingston joins us in the Cantork Racing Report. Now, Colin, I know you were paying close attention to Scott Dixon, this in IndyCar, what he was doing. He led for almost the entire race, right? Like I think it was 205 of 212 or 206 of all the laps. Like, is that significantly above normal? Do guys usually lead like that many laps in a race, in an Indy race?
It's not common for sure. And what Dixie did that was, I think it slipped past a lot of people. It became pretty obvious at the end, but it's one thing to be focused on driving the car. So, that's kind of done more by your backside than anything, mechanical, but these guys are so busy in the car. Like what a lot of people don't really realize is that every single lap, these guys are making adjustments to the car. They're playing with the weight jacker. They're playing with, the stiffness here and there. They're adjusting fuel maps. They're all over the place. And while they're doing that to maintain their fuel mileage or the car balance or whatever it is, depending on whether they're in traffic or out of traffic, Scotty was super aware of how hard it was to pass. And in the middle stint of the race, he was behind Hinch, and Hinch, I think, he had an off night. It sounded like he maybe had an issue with his car where it just wasn't set up properly. But while Hinch wasn't really competitive, Scott had a hard time trying to get a run on him to try and pass. So Texas was kind of unique because they've applied a compound to the track that is really intended for NASCAR to be able to run in the outside groove. And as they laid that compound down, it destroyed the outside groove for IndyCar. When these guys would even get approaching to where this tire compound was, they would immediately start losing traction. And once you start losing it, we saw it a couple of times through the weekend. Once you start getting up there, even if you let out of the throttle, you're basically on ice and can't get your car back. I mean, Will Power, one of the best drivers in IndyCar, got a little aero wash, got up into that stuff and tapped the wall, and that really hurt his day. So Scott was really, really aware of what was going on, didn't make an overly aggressive pass, wasn't really worried about, lapping Hinch. But then there was a caution. They reformed up, and while he had been taking off from everyone kind of at will, he was able to build up, 1 second, 2 second lead kind of as he wanted to. in the final stint, most of the commentators were talking about how, Scott's finally not pulling away, and, Alex Palou is going to be with him, and Scott McLaughlin's with him, and all this stuff. He was just managing it so that by the time they got to the end of the race, he didn't have to deal with lap cars. I mean, super, super aware, super, super smart drive by Scotty D. And now he's tied, I think, second all time with Andretti. Still a long way to go to try and catch AJ Foyt, but it was a really, really, really awesome performance by the 6-time champ.
What about in race 2? Quite a bit of a little bit more bumping and grinding in this one, it seemed like.
Well, one of the quotes from race 2 came from Connor Daly, who said that he believes that he's one of the only guys to ever take the green flag on his roof. It was crazy. About, I don't know what it was, 6 or 8 cars involved in a pre-race, like as they're coming to the green flag incident, where there was a little bit of gamesmanship up front where they kind of started and stopped and slowed down, which people in the back can't really see. They tried to take off, someone checked up, and it was a disaster for a handful of people. I don't think the second race was quite as good, but Patricio Award, fairly new to IndyCar. I think this is only his second season. Came over from the world of F1. Just wasn't able, or European open wheel. He was kind of destined to try and join the Red Bull program. Just couldn't get the super license points that he needed to qualify to get up there. Made his way back to IndyCar, and finally drove a really, really good race as well.
Colin Livingston joins us. Now, Colin, in F1, as predicted, there was lots of action on the track, lots of passing. Hamilton made 2 excellent passes later on to end up winning. And here in Edmonton relates, he wins his 97th win. He's led the driver's standings for 123 consecutive races. I'm assuming that's an all-time record for that. And so Hamilton, maybe a lot of the detractors say, it's just a vehicle. But I think his driving this week illustrated why this guy's always winning. It's not just his car.
Yeah, and again, if it was just the car, then the wins would be split between the Mercedes drivers, and Bottas would have as many over the same period or whatever it was. Right now, it's widely accepted that Mercedes isn't the fastest car, and yet they've still won 2 of the first 3 races. So I think there's a lot of merit. Obviously, if you've got a rubbish car, you're not going to be, up front, but what Hamilton can do with his ability is awfully impressive. At the same time, we saw, Kimi Räikkönen, I got to see some of the news, the press conference from today, because now they're getting ready to race in Barcelona, where he just flat drove into the back of his teammate. He, was focused on making a car adjustment. They were still on the opening lap, and he just caught his teammate right in the left rear tire, broke his wing, ended his race after 1 lap. So, Kimi Räikkönen is he's turned more laps than anybody in a Formula One car. He's a former champion. He's won races. He's done it all. And even, one of the best can still make, essentially a rookie mistake.
Colin Livingston joined us. Go ahead. Okay, Colin Livingston joined us for the Cantork Race Report. NASCAR, pretty amazing race this past weekend. If your name was Bush for the Bushy McBusherson race.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty awesome. I mean, every time I hear that, it still makes me laugh. So Bush's Bushy McBush win, that puts him in some pretty elite company again. Depending on how you make the definition, Bush is really the all-time winningest NASCAR driver. Now, Richard Petty has 200 career wins to his name, really all tasked to the cup level, but it was a different series back then. Since Bush came in, between trucks, Xfinity and Cup, I can't remember what the number is. I should have probably written it down, but I mean, he's like 215 wins or something like that. He's never lost on his birthday, which has happened twice in his career at the cup level. Won the truck race, really, really, really impressive drive, because, he had really dominated the race. Towards the end, there was a caution. He got jumped on a caution. put him back to 5th place. There was another caution to end the race, and somehow he managed to really power his way up front. And once he got back, he actually drove away from the guys. And then in the Cup race, was the same kind of thing. I mean, he started a little bit back. He ran mostly in the top 5, and then put his first win in quite some time on the board. So it was good to see.
Bushy McBusherson. That'll be the race call next year. It'll be fantastic. Quickly, Colin, before we go, the local car scene, what's up with you guys? Is the season being delayed?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be, from what we're hearing, we're not going to be racing until at least June. There's a really, really, really limited amount of testing that we're going to be able to do. I think we're limited to 5 people at the track. So for people who want to start doing, preseason shakedowns or what have you, it's going to have to be pretty carefully coordinated. And, but it's still better than nothing. I was thinking we could probably go golfing, but based on what the news is, I won't even be able to do that. So I'm not too sure what we're going to be spending time on here.
Well, you can go golfing, just have to golf with people in your house, right?
I live alone, so
that's hey, buddy, now you can time yourself. You can go golf, see if you can get it done in 3 hours.
Oh,
by yourself?
I could get around the course in under 2 hours by myself on foot, no problem.
Really?
Oh, easy.
2 hours.
Easy.
Jeez. Huh. Well, that new ball finder that you found definitely speeds up the game.
I just abandoned them. That's fine. I got lots of them.
Oh, it's in the bush. I think I went in here, dropped, just play. Why not? I get it. Makes sense.
It's in the bushy McBush.
Yeah, get it. Yeah, in the bushy McBush. You're right. Have fun. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the racing. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
All right, boys. Thanks a lot.
There you go. Colin Livingston in the Cantork Racing Report. Yeah, if you missed it,
Thank you, Colin.
It's always a pleasure, Connor.